That, ladies and gentlemen, was vintage NASCAR. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to episode of MDK Racing Victory. Hope we're having a wonderful day. What a race it was to kick off the first road course of the 2025 NASCAR season. IndyCar and St. Pete, NASCAR and COTA, both put on classics. A great race that ended with a great finish involving a 4-car battle. Kyle Busch, the driver that has not won in now 60 races, trying to go back to victory lane, laid a race high 42 laps, limping his car to the finish line because his tires were just worn out. Behind them, you had Christopher Bell, William Byron hot on his tail on fresher tires, and Tyler Reddick bringing up the rear. And it was a very thrilling 15 or so lap run to the finish, and it ended up with Christopher Bell holding off William Byron and Tyler Reddick to win for the second straight time in the 2025 season, becoming the first repeat winner of this year, his 11th Cup Series win, and becomes the first driver since Chris Buescher back in 2023 to go back-to-back. Let's take a look at the unofficial results here. Christopher Bell wins, Byron second, Reddick in third, Chase Elliott in fourth. The fact that Chase Elliott, he finished where he finished in the top 10 is a miracle because he got taken out, absolutely clobbered by Ross Chastain, reverting back to his 2022 days. Got taken out, had a broken toe link, just had a mess all day long, and still managed to get stage points and still managed to finish in the top 10. Absolutely unreal drive for Chase Elliott. It almost makes you wonder, if that didn't happen, what was the true potential of that 9 car? And Kyle Busch comes home in 5th. SVG 6th, Chris Buescher, Noah Gragson, excellent run for that 4 team. Alex Bowman in 9th, and Todd Gillen the top 10. Michael McDowell, Ross Chastain, Carson Hocevar, Chase Briscoe, and Brad Keselowski, with Justin Haley, Riley Herbst, Ricky Stenhouse, Ryan Blaney, and Bubba Wallace the top 20. Here's some notables. Denny Hamlin, 21st. He did not have a good day. Got involved in a crash on lap 1, then took out Austin Dillon late in the race. Joe Logano was slow all day. He didn't have the speed. Neither did Austin Cindric. We'll talk about him also in a little bit. He had an adventurous day involving the driver in 28th, Ty Dillon. AJ Allmendinger, I don't know how we got in 30th, but he was up towards the front for a good portion of this race. Kyle Larson had a horrendous day, had a tire come out of his car just after turn 6A. Then later on in the race, he got taken out and spun right before the start finish line in turn 18, I believe. He just did not have a good day. Neither did Ty Gibbs, who was involved in that lap 1 incident with Denny Hamlin. And the final 3 drivers, Austin Dillon, who was involved in that crash with Hamlin, Daniel Suarez, and Connor Zilisch. Let's go over the storylines. First off, Kyle Busch finishing in the top 5, like I said, led a race high 42 laps. That was the Kyle Busch of old. That's one thing we've been waiting to see from Kyle Busch for a very long time. Like I said, it's now been 60 races since he last been in victory lane, but it's been since 2022 or 2023, I should say, that we saw Kyle Busch be that guy. We saw Kyle Busch able to manhandle a car that, number one, should not be anywhere near up front, but also number 2, like I said, he was lagging behind with the tires that he was trying to limp to the start finish line because his tires were just much older. The way the pit strategy fell into with that last caution, I believe, involving Hamlin and Dillon, that is something that Kyle Busch definitely did not need, and that ended up kind of screwing his race over. He had no choice but to stay out and was able to do it for such a long period of time. Even on older tires, was doing a tremendous job holding back Christopher Bell. And there were certain vantage points or certain passing opportunities that Bell could have capitalized and passed Busch a lot earlier. But Busch, he positioned his car beautifully, was able to defend at the right place at the right time, and he was able to hold off Christopher Bell a lot longer than I think a lot of other drivers would have. So while it is disappointing to see him come home in 5th, it is a very, very respected drive that he put on here today, and also showed that, hey, Kyle Busch, that old rowdy Busch, he's still there. Just give him a car and he will perform. That's a message to you, RC. Give him a car and he will perform. Let's talk about Trackhouse next up. 6th, 12th, pretty nice. 37th and 38th. Ouch. Now, all 4 of these drivers had pretty eventful days, but specifically the 99 and the 87. Connor Zilisch, he was in a mess on lap 1, got damaged at the beginning of the race, so he had to basically start from behind right from the very beginning. Daniel Suarez, though, he was really running in the top 5, so was Shane Van Gisbergen. SVG led some laps. Ross Chastain was around the top 10-ish. He didn't have like a top 5 car, but he was kind of settled into the top 10. However, the reason why Daniel Suarez and Connor Zilisch are positioned second to last and last, holding final 2 spots, was because coming off of turn number 18, Daniel Suarez hits the grass, slips and spins, and Connor Zilisch runs right into the side of him, tearing up both cars. Zilisch spins into the tire barriers, both done for the day. Something that Connor Zilisch did not need, even though he was doing his best, running a solid race, leading the laps that he needed to lead, or I should say running the laps that he needed to run, keeping out of harm's way. But it was Daniel Suarez that definitely did not need to have that, because he was having a really, really good day. And remember, he's under a contract year, and there's rumors speculating about Suarez's future at Trackhouse, whether this could be his final time in the 99 ride for this year. That is something that he definitely did not need to happen, especially when you get or involved in an accident with the guy that could possibly be replacing you. So even though Zilisch is only 18, years old still, you never know what can happen in the Cup Series for next year. So yeah, that is something that Daniel Suarez did not need. And again, it sucks because he did have a really good run going. It was going to possibly be around the top 5 area. So that is something that Trackhouse did not need, especially, when you have 2 cars that are running up front, up in the top 10, and the other 2 cars are sitting behind the wall, dead last. So that is very, very tough to see. Let's talk about next gen. Next gen, they get a lot of flack, and rightfully so. However, this race delivered. Absolutely delivered. From strategy all over the place, even though the stage cautions kind of limited that a little bit, we saw a great tire fall off, and huge credit to Goodyear. Goodyear, they brought a tire that actually falls off after a long period of green flag runs. We saw a lot of comers and goers, lots of passing going on. Not so much up front, but definitely mid-pack, especially if you watched on Max, the in-car cameras. You saw a lot of passing, a lot of great battles going on. The reason why I say Max, because we're going to talk about Fox a little bit later on, but saw some great racing, some really good strategy, a lot of tire management taking place. And again, like I said, those final few laps with those 4 drivers of Busch, Bell, Byron, and Reddick. Again, what made it so good was that it was clean. Granted, I wouldn't mind a little bumping and banging. Listen, it's stock cars. It's almost expected. I love that they race clean right to the very end. And it should be no surprise because Busch, Bell, Byron, and Reddick are genuinely one of the 4 cleanest drivers, especially Byron and Bell. I mean, I can't remember a time where either of those 2 drivers purposely would move someone or would do something egregious in order to get by someone. All 4 of them race very clean right to the very end. There was a point in time on that final lap where Byron, he could have pulled an Austin Dillon and just drive it in the corner and move Christopher Bell up and out of the way. He didn't do that. He tried to at least try to get to him, but he didn't do anything that would have been frowned upon by the community. He ran a clean race. All of them ran a very clean race, and that is NASCAR racing. That is stock car racing really at its finest. When you see 4 drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate, but they do it in a way that is clean, but they still gave it their all. They were slipping and sliding all over the place. A lot of crossover moves that could have happened between Byron and Bell and Busch in those closing laps. It was awesome, but clean racing. And that is what made this finish, in my opinion, much better than what it could have been, because it was clean. They kept their fenders clean. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I know COTA is not confirmed for 2026, but I think we should. We should confirm it for 2026. I like the shorter course. I like the new layout that they raced here today. Not only did they make the race a lot faster, I believe it made the racing a lot better, because I believe it opened up another major opportunity for passing opportunities, and not only in turn 6, turn 6A. I felt like it just made it a much better race. So huge credit to COTA for doing that track layout and NASCAR. Awesome. And speaking of C-Bell and Willie B, man, they are the drivers to beat now in next gen. Anytime the next gen comes to the road courses, it's either Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Tyler Reddick. It's always those 3 drivers that are always in the mix somehow. And that's going to be the norm as we get into the next road course, which I believe is Sonoma. They're more than likely going to be a threat, as well as Kyle Larson. We do have to also include him in a little bit. But those 4 drivers are just always somehow in the mix every single week. And it's kind of nice to see the future stars of NASCAR consistently be up in the front. William Byron, a former 500 winner, 2-time Daytona 500 champion. Christopher Bell now winning the last 2 races of the Cup Series season. Tyler Reddick, the regular season champion, continuously running up front. It is nice to see the new stars of NASCAR really take center stage. And I think finally to wrap it up, Fox. You know, it's such a contrast. If you watched IndyCar on Fox, even though it's produced by IMS Productions, it was vibrant, it was colorful, it was intense, energetic. It made the race feel like a big deal, even though it already is. St. Pete is a big deal. It made it feel like much bigger than what it was. It was really, really good. There were some kinks, but for a first broadcast, I feel like it did a really great job. You then turn to Fox in NASCAR. Oh my Lord. Like, thank goodness with this new TV package, we only have to deal with Fox for 14 races instead of actually only 2 less races. We have to deal with Fox a lot less earlier than normal, so I'm happy about that. But my Lord, they were horrible today. First off, let's talk about the booth. The booth, it wasn't clicking. I don't know what it was. In Daytona, they clicked very well, but here they just were not. And I think that also has to do with the production. The production was horrendous. I mean, they will show a clip of a battle for the lead and then either cut to a side-by-side frame or cut to a single car that is nowhere near the front of the pack, nowhere near showing any battles, continuously showing onboards. The battle between Bell, Byron, and Busch, and near the end of the race, when Bell, I think it was Bell or Byron that got to the inside of another driver, what do? They cut to the helicopter that showed the grandstands only. Then they had to do, we have to come up with something on the fly. Then they cut to a onboard shot looking at the back end. It was just awful, absolutely awful, the production. And it's like a complete 180 from what we saw with IndyCar. And again, the primary reason for that is because IndyCar is produced by IMS Productions. It's a IndyCar team that dedicates and loves IndyCar. NASCAR on Fox is produced by Fox Sports. So it's people that more than likely aren't familiar with NASCAR. NASCAR on Fox needs to be produced by NASCAR Productions. They do the CW with the Xfinity Series. And if you watch the Xfinity Series on the CW, they do a tremendous job. But Fox does a horrible job. So I don't know if NASCAR can do this. You know, I don't know what the TV contract, what the details of it is. But if possible, for 2026, NASCAR Productions needs to take over for Fox, because it was disturbing how horrid their production was. And it sucked because it was a great race, and I felt like Fox did their best to make it a bad race based on how bad their production was. So it was a great race, but awful in terms of production. One thing was not awful, but was a little bit confusing was NASCAR's officiating, because in the S's there, of course, you hear about track limits. You know, you couldn't, if you have 2 tires that are away, that are off of the track surface, that includes the curbs, then you'd be penalized. We saw some drivers have that issue where they went off track limits. Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, just to name a few. They did add a new section, I believe in turn 13, where it was like a little penalty outer loop, where it's like you go over there, do a stop and go. I like that much more than a full pass-through penalty on pit lane. I felt like that's a much better alternate in terms of serving a penalty. But there was some confusion because in turn 6, when you, in the original COTA layout, you go through the S's, then make that right-hander that goes into that very tight hairpin. That originally was part of the off-track limits, but because of the new reconfiguration or the new track layout, turn 6 was no longer used as a no-go zone. A lot of teams didn't know that, so you had some teams that were going off course in turn 6 not get penalized, and they would go on the radio and be like, hey, yo, why isn't this guy penalized? He went off track. And NASCAR had to tell them, yeah, you can do that. We're not covering that. We're not going over that. So there was some confusion with the teams, drivers, and NASCAR themselves about what you couldn't do. So that part I thought was very funny. But one thing was not funny was Austin Cindric and Ty Dillon. Okay, I will be shocked if there is no form of penalty for Austin Cindric, because we heard the new NASCAR rulebook. The new rules, like if you right hook a driver or you wreck a driver on purpose, you will be suspended or have some form of penalty. There will be some form of penalty involved. And what Austin Cindric did, in my eyes, fits the line of a penalty, some form of suspension. This happened coming off of turn 18, very early in the race. Ty Dillon pushed out Austin Cindric out wide, and then Austin Cindric decided to say, you know what, you're done, and just takes him out. Right hooks Ty Dillon, sends him into the guardrails. Now, it wasn't a severe impact like what we saw Bubba in Vegas or Chase Elliott at Charlotte, but still, the rule states, you right hook a driver, you wreck a driver on purpose, you will be penalized. You have some form of punishment. So I don't know if there is a rule in determining how fast you have to go in order for it to be a punishment or not. But the rule states that if you wreck a driver on purpose, you will be punished. And by that, what I saw, and I think what everybody saw, can all agree that what Austin Cindric did, in my eyes, fit the crime of him having some form of harsh punishment. I will be shocked though if he does it, because in my eyes, like I said, it fit the crime. Overall, I would give this race an 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. It was really, really good. A lot of fun. A lot of different contenders involved, especially in mid-pack. It was nice to see some new faces up towards the front. Strategy was pretty good. Wasn't amazing, wasn't the best road course race I've ever seen, but I thought it was really, really solid. But I really did enjoy those final few laps between those 4 drivers. That was so much fun to see. And it was nice to see for the first time, at least for me, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but at least for me, it's the first time that I leave a NASCAR race and I'm like, I'm happy. You know, I'm satisfied. That was good. That brought a smile to my face. So very happy about that. And I hope COTA can return next year in 2026, because that was a lot of fun to watch. But if they do return in 2026, get a new invocation speaker, because today was ridiculous. But those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts on this race? Let me know in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you not? Until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.